I used to look at the original people in the world and think that creative geniuses were cut from a different cloth, that they were born with some spark of imagination, that they had a biological immunity to risk, that they were fearless, and that they just woke up one morning with eureka moments that led them to great ideas. And I found out that all of those things were wrong, that in fact, the most original people across industries have more bad ideas than their peers. Because the way that you become original is you generate variety. And the best path to variety is sheer volume. Picasso, for example, relatively decent number of masterpieces, but it took him over 1,800 paintings, 1,200 sculptures, 2,800 ceramics, and 12,000 drawings in order to get to that smaller set of great works of art. Einstein transformed physics with two great papers on relativity. How much do we know about his 248 other papers? Edison, 1,093 patents, six or seven that have truly changed the world, and most of them really went nowhere. He designed a talking doll so creepy that it scared not only kids, but adults too. And that was during the same period that he was working on the light bulb. He was trying to mine iron ore using magnets. That failed. He was designing a fruit preservation technique that never took off. He had to try a lot of bad ideas in order to generate a few good ones. Shakespeare. We admire Hamlet, Macbeth, Romeo and Juliet. Have you ever heard of Timon of Athens or The Merry Wives of Windsor? Relative duds, panned by critics, and yet he worked on those plays around the same period that he was developing his greatest works. The point is that most people believe that there's a trade-off between quantity and quality. That if you want to become a creative genius, you should focus on a few ideas and then refine them to perfection. But that is completely backward. There's a positive relationship between quantity and quality. Classical composers, for example, if you look at the ones who become the greatest, whose compositions get re-recorded the most times, who are rated most positively by experts, who end up getting the most pages in encyclopedia entries, they are not the ones who just churn out a few masterpieces, rather the ones who actually do the most work. Even the greatest of the greats, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, had to generate 400, 500, 600 compositions in order to do a relatively small number of masterpieces. One of the hardest parts of being creative is what Ira Glass calls the gap. You get into creative work because you have great taste and you have a vision of doing something totally original. But then the work that you're able to produce when you start is terrible. And there's a huge gap between your vision and the reality that you're able to generate. Most people give up at that point. They say, look, at first this was interesting. Now it's become tricky. I look at my finished product and I realize it's crap. And pretty soon I make the leap to I'm crap. But what distinguishes creative geniuses in those moments is that they persist instead of quitting. They say, I've got to keep working at this until I master the skill, and I'm able to close the gap between my taste and my skill. That can take years. It can take decades. It can take many, many repeated rounds of effort. But it's not primarily talent that determines which people make it. It's the deliberate practice to continue trying new ideas, to continue refining your taste, to get feedback from lots of other people, and ultimately arrive at something that is much better than you originally were capable of. Psychologist Dean Simonson has studied creative geniuses throughout history, and he finds that on average, they're not better than their peers. They just produce more work. To quote Simonson, the odds of producing an influential or successful idea are a positive function of the total number of ideas generated. That's true across people. If you compare playwrights, musicians, inventors, the ones who do the most important novel work are the ones who just do the most work. But it's also even true within careers. So when Simonson studied Thomas Edison's career, the periods where he generated more ideas were also the windows where he generated the greatest ideas. So in the 5-year time where he churned out over 100 patents, he had a much better shot at pioneering the light bulb than in the 5-year windows where he only had 10 or 20 patents. And the more ideas Edison generated, the more bad ideas he produced, but also the better his chances of stumbling on something that was truly different and better than what came before.
So these are just a few of the amazing ideas from the book Originals by Adam Grant. I've compiled over 10 plus great ideas from this book in a PDF summary that you can download by clicking right here or going to 2000books.com/originals. When you download that, you will also get access to my complete interview with Adam Grant on this book, Originals. So grab the PDF summary and my complete interview by going to 2000books.com/originals or by clicking right here. The link for these downloads is also in the description below. All right, guys, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.